In the Impact segment tonight, a very bizarre boast from the State Department. The folks there blog that bringing peace to Syria is one of its top accomplishments of 2015. Peace in Syria. War is still raging there. Tens of thousands have been killed, and the violence has spawned a massive international refugee crisis. Yet the State Department is defending its claim.
The operative word there is bringing, not brought. So we're bringing peace and security to Syria. I think that is a truthful claim. There has been significant process, we believe, in the past year on both fronts.
Progress.
What's that?
Process or progress?
I think both. I mean, I think progress on a process.
Progress on a process. Joining us now from Palm Springs with reaction, Rick Grinnell, a former U.S. spokesman at the UN, and from Miami, former State Department official David Taffery. David, I just want to start with you. You can't believe that the Obama administration is bringing peace to Syria, can you?
Well, that was an awkward press conference, and the title they put on this blog is also very awkward. What they try to do is something cute, which is to describe the accomplishments in 5 words each. If they had used a few more words, they could have been more accurate. What they should have said is starting to have a plan to bring peace and security to Syria.
Starting to have a plan to bring peace and security. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the blog post talks about 2 things the administration has truly accomplished in Syria. One is providing the most support for humanitarian interests in Syria of any country in the world, which is significant because, remember, Europe is affected much more by the Syria refugee crisis than the U.S., yet the U.S. has spent more than any other country, about $1.4 billion in 2015 alone, over $4 billion since the crisis started. It also talks about the new UN Security Council resolution, which was passed this month, which sets a peace process for going forward, which is also very important and is an important accomplishment. Remember, we haven't passed a Security Council resolution in years related to Syria because Russia keeps blocking them.
David, okay, so we gave him a lot of cash and we have some UN resolution. Rick, I don't understand this. Why does the administration do this? Kerry's out there touting this like Syria is a big success. I'd hate to see what a failure in Syria would look like. Well, why do they even spin this?
Right. It's hard to talk about this without laughing because it's just such a joke. Look, the State Department has the system in place. I've written these accomplishments for almost a decade when I was at the State Department. You are tasked with trying to come up with some sort of a positive spin on every single policy, and people sit around and they write this. I talked to somebody who's in the Near East Bureau, which is the bureau that wrote this today, and they said there was a lot of chuckling going on when the first draft came forward. Everyone at the State Department, outside of the political appointees by President Obama, knows that Syria is a disaster. The most that they can say right now is that they have found a time for a meeting. They've scheduled a meeting with all of the players, and everybody has agreed to come to a meeting.
No,
there is no success
They have a plan to schedule a meeting. That's what it is. Right. Now, I want to read some of these other accomplishments because these are just hilarious that they're touting. You ready for this one? Hosting a summit on countering terrorism. Hosting a summit. All right? Also, Kerry went to a summit about the ocean. That was one of their accomplishments. Kerry also went to Kerry also went to another summit about the Arctic. And finally, my favorite, David, I'd like you to comment on this, setting a goal to end poverty. I mean, I can set a goal to end poverty. I mean, what does that mean?
Well, you know, there are other accomplishments that you've overlooked that are in this blog post. It talks about the Iran nuclear deal. It talks about normalizing relations with Cuba. Okay. It talks about the progress made against ISIS. These are, you know, significant accomplishments. You may or may not agree with them, but they are distinct changes from the previous administration. They are things that nobody thought this administration could accomplish. We have to see if they're going to be effective in the future, especially the Iran nuclear deal. But these are significant accomplishments by the State Department under the leadership of Secretary Kerry, and it's warranted for a blog post to talk about them.
Okay, if you're going to say the Iranian nuclear deal was a big accomplishment, I think a majority of the country would disagree with that. Rick, how do you see that? I mean, is that what they're going with? Giving the Iranians billions of dollars, and now they're violating this agreement left and right already.
Right. They've violated it 3 times. Even Samantha Power has issued a statement saying Iran is in violation. Look, let's take quickly the one example that David put forward, which is the UN resolution. That UN resolution that he's talking about, where Russia finally signed on, the reason why Russia signed on is because we didn't say anything about the most difficult problem, which is Assad. No one is saying a word about whether Assad should go or stay. That's the whole reason why we're having problems in Syria. This resolution doesn't even confront it. So we are left to schedule meetings and claim victory for attendance. That's a tactic that is actually not an accomplishment.
You know what this reminds me of is when the terrorists had the deadliest year on record last year, and President Obama went out and said, you know, the world has never been safer. Or when we had this huge illegal alien invasion last year and the Obama team came out and said the border has never been more secure. Why even try to spin it? Why can't they just own up and say this is a challenge, these are the steps we're taking to address the challenge, we know it's tough, but we're going to get through it. Instead, it's this pie in the sky, everything's great.
Because they can get away with it, Jesse. They can get away with it because the media does not hold them accountable. The State Department press corps has been atrocious. They allow all of this to happen. I mean, you look, finally someone questioned Mark Toner and said, wait a minute, you said process instead of progress.
So said both.
Process has now become a success. Scheduling a meeting and deciding that you're going to attend something is, bingo, we've accomplished it. We've attended a meeting.
Right. There was a thing on the list that I did agree with. One thing, it was fighting back Ebola. So I think we can all agree. I don't have Ebola. You guys don't have Ebola, I think. So I think they did a good job of that. Other than that, I'm not really sure. All right? Rick, David, thank you guys very much.